Hello and welcome back to the channel. I want to take a few minutes to address a common thing that happens with everyone at some point. Whether you're in business, leading a group, or just dealing with life in general, we all get to a crossroads at times where we just feel stuck. You know what I'm talking about. It's that moment where you can't see a clear direction or a clear path to move forward. In the literary world, they call it writer's block sometimes. Ever been there? Sure you have. We all have. So let's talk about what causes that. First, I want to take a step back and ponder something, though. Why is it that two people can go through the exact same situation and one of them gets stronger and the other gets stuck? Well, it comes down to one thing. It's the meaning they assign to it in their mind. Mindset is what this channel is all about. Hello, I'm Phillip Cantrell, and welcome to Lessons from the Arena. What you'll find here is not just theory. None of it is hype. And it's definitely not somebody who's never done it, but decided to start handing out advice for free. Everything we talk about in this channel is from my 40 plus years and experience in business. Winning, losing, getting it wrong, and figuring it out again, and finally landing on what actually works in the real world. If you find value in this channel as a resource, please subscribe and hit the like button. Not for my ego, but because that's how this message gets in front of more people who actually need to hear it. Okay, so let's get into it now. Here's something most people never figure out. Just because something feels true doesn't mean it is. And if you don't get control of that in your mind, it can and will quietly undermine your career. I'm not talking about your intelligence. I'm not talking about your work ethic. Not talking about opportunity. I'm talking about your interpretation of events at the moment they happen. What's really happening in most situations boil down to two things: stimulus and response. To quote Stephen Covey from his work, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of my favorite books, by the way, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. This gap allows individuals to act proactively rather than reacting instinctively because our brain previously assigned a meaning to that particular stimulus. Something happens, some event, you feel something, and then you assign meaning to it. With all of it occurring so fast, you didn't even realize you were engaging in what I call mental muscle memory, where the feeling rises up automatically without you even thinking about it. But here's the part that should get your attention. That meaning you assign today is very often coming from something that happened to you in your past, in your distant past usually. Some experience happened, you saw it one way, your brain fixed on it, and now associates that stimulus with an automatic reaction. Usually it's your personal baggage, maybe something even from your childhood, and it's causing you to fall into this loop that results in being stuck. And stuck usually means mediocrity. Let me give you a simple example of what I'm talking about here. Suppose a kid walks into school for the first time. He gets made fun of. You know how kids are. Nobody steps in. Nobody explains it. Nobody helps him process that. What does he do? Well, his brain then creates a meaning. Something is wrong with me. People can't be trusted. This isn't a safe place. These are all meanings that the kid's brain invented and then glued onto this stimulus, this feeling. And every other situation that feels like this one will now follow that same pattern. Okay, so now fast forward 30 years. That same kid has grown and sitting in a business meeting. He presents an idea to the group and someone pushes back on it, maybe even criticizes his idea. What does he feel? Disrespected, dismissed, maybe even attacked. But here's the truth. It's really not about that meeting or even the comments made by the fellow attendee. It's about the meaning he created years ago that never got challenged. And now it shows up again and it feels completely real to him. So he reacts. Maybe he shuts down. Maybe he gets defensive. Maybe he makes a bad decision just to protect himself. And he walks away thinking the problem was the situation, but it wasn't. The problem was how his brain attached a false meaning to a similar event from years before, one that he never worked through. Here's where this gets really dangerous, y'all. Listen to me here. Emotions act like glue. The stronger the emotion, the more true the belief feels. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the reaction you've assigned to it sticks in your head, even when it's completely wrong. That's why you see smart, capable people stay in bad relationships, avoid big opportunities, and misread situations, or even blow up deals they should have closed. Not because they don't know better, but because they're reacting to emotional residue that results in self-sabotage. Plain and simple, it is old meaning showing up in new situations. So let's make this practical so you can connect to what I'm really saying here, okay? Say you lose a deal. That's the event. Now, your brain assigns meaning. One person's going to say, not the right fit, I'm moving on. This is a positive assignment. Another person says, I'm not as good as I thought I was. That's a negative assignment. Same event, two completely different futures. And what determines which one you choose? Clearly, it's not the facts of the event. Those were the same, right? They were the same in both events. It's the emotional framework you're operating from, much of which was built a long time ago in your brain. It's that muscle memory thing that causes you to get stuck. This is where most people go off track. They try to fix outcomes without ever addressing their interpretations of the situation. They want more leads. They want better systems. They want more training. And these things do matter. Don't get me wrong. But if your internal filter is off, you just keep recreating the same problems in different forms, different people, different deals, same result. Event after event, month after month, year after year. This is why people experience failure after failure without ever understanding why they're stuck. Okay, so what do you do about it? Fixing this is actually simpler than people think, but it's definitely not easy. Number one, you have to separate what happened from the meaning you have assigned to it. These are two different things, okay? Keep that in mind. Second, stop accepting your emotions as facts. Your emotions are nothing but signals. They are not instructions. Third, look for the patterns. If the same reaction keeps showing up, it's not the situation, it's something inside of you that hasn't been resolved. And finally, and this is the hard one, consciously choose a better meaning, deliberately, intentionally, not based on how you feel, but based on what actually serves your growth. Here's the big question. How do you break through that muscle memory automated response that's letting emotion control your responses? That's a great question. In my 40s, I used to listen to a lot of Tony Robbins. Everybody knows Tony Robbins, and I think he's a great author. Something I learned from him was that in most cases, this automatic stimulus response process is buried so deeply in our minds that we can only separate the two by creating some physical act to change our state of being at that particular moment. Something such as literally clapping our hands when the stimulus arises. Sounds weird, I know, I get it. But it works because it physically breaks the mental muscle memory and forces your mind to pause before engaging in the conditioned response to whatever it is that happened. It works too. I've used it many times when I found myself in a familiar situation with an emotional reaction coming up, rising up within me. That physical act of clapping my hands once or twice was just enough to stop that pattern and make me rethink. It gave my brain a message to stop and rethink my response. Try it. You'll see it works, and it works well. So here's the bottom line. I want you to let this burn into your brain right now. I want you to listen to me carefully. Your career is usually not limited by your ability or your skills, but it will always be limited or accelerated by the meaning you assign to your experiences. Most people never question that. They just keep reacting, calling it reality, and accepting the fact that they're stuck. On the other hand, what I've seen in the people who win over time, the ones who build something meaningful in their lives and careers, they have learned to separate truth from the emotion of how something feels. When you do that, you stop reacting and you start leading, and you become unstuck. If this message hits home with you, please subscribe and hit the like button of this channel. And don't forget to check out my book, Failing My Way to Success, on Amazon, where you can dive deeper into this topic among many others. I'll drop a link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being here.